In this video, we are going to add more forms to the hands of our character. Let's go ahead and mask our hands for a character. We are going to separate the hands from the body. And the reason why we need to separate the hands from the body is because we need to add more geometry on our hands when we do a remesher. So this is going to have more poly count than the body because the hands is going to have a little bit more smaller forms and smaller details. In order to do that and in order to achieve that, we need to definitely decrease the voxel size on this so we have more geometry to work with, and we don't want to remesh it while it is still attached to the body because our body is good for now. All right, we don't want to have extra geometry right now for the forms of the body because all we need right now is just the bigger shapes for this. But yeah, for the hands is a whole new different story. We gonna have to do that. We're gonna have to separate this. We're also gonna have to do the same thing for the feet later. We're gonna have to separate the mesh for the feet. That way, when we are remeshing, we are only remeshing those parts without affecting the body. Let's go to mask and mask slice new object. Okay, so it had separated the hand, which is exactly what we wanted, but the problem is it had relocated to a different place. So if you see something like that, if you use the mask slice a new object where it just went out of place, your geometry, you're gonna have to adjust the transformation. So let's go ahead and just undo this for now. Control Z to undo. We need to go back to object mode. Let's go back to object mode and let's go to object, apply all transformations, and this should fix the issue. Let's go back to sculpt mode and go back to masking the hand area, part of the mesh that we are going to separate. So right now I'm just using the lasso tool, and then you could also go back to your paint mask to just paint out the areas of the mesh that you want to include or parts that you want to exclude. So really I go back and forth between using the lasso mask and the regular paint mask. And let's go to our mask slice new object. And as you can see, that has worked perfectly. We had separated the hands without moving it to a different location. Now, back onto sculpt mode, let's go ahead and deal with our hands here so we could have a little bit more forms to work with. Okay, first thing is we gotta go ahead and mask the last 3 fingers from the middle finger onto the pinky finger. What we're going to do is we are going to remove the last fingers for our hand here. And let's go to our mask slice and fill holes. And then let's go and remesh this. And let's go ahead and increase the voxel size for this here. It's essential that we do that. That way we could have a little bit of lower poly count for now. Maybe 0.06. So not too low poly, at the same time, not too high poly. 0.07. Alright, so just enough so I'm able to kind of smooth it a little bit more and add the shape easily. So what we're going to be doing is we're just going to focus on one finger. And after we do one finger, we're just going to duplicate that finger on the other parts here. And so that's the reason why I have removed this part right there. And inflate that a bit. Just trying to get the shape down really quick. Using the inflate brush to just kind of bring back a little bit of the volume. And scrape this a bit on the edges here so it's not so squarish. So make sure you look at the bottom view and the top view and the side view, every view. Yes, you can see right now it looks a little strange to shape, so that's the reason why you need to look in all views here so you got a better shape going. So you know which part of the front and the side of the fingers that you need to fix. Now I'm just gonna add a little bit more of the knuckles there. Right here. Reapplying those knuckles. Okay, yeah, so what I'm thinking about right now is I am thinking about the bones, and I'm thinking about the overall shape of the fingers. So for the fingers, I'm thinking more of this kind of shape, and then it kind of tapers down a little bit. And I'm also thinking about the bony landmarks. So we have on our finger, we have 1, 2, and then 3 bones in there. And of course we have other bones here that are on top of the hand. But yeah, this is kind of what we need to focus on right now. And right there, just adding more of the fat pad there. Okay. Using the draw sharp to indicate where the articulation is going to be for the finger, where the finger is going to bend. Okay, so what you need to think about right now is this part of the hand has the fat pads. So around this area of our hand is going to be more filled with fat, and then around this part area, like at the top of the hand, is going to be more of bony. So you're going to see some bony landmarks here. This consists of bones, muscles, and tendons. The top part and of the hand. Yeah, and the bottom part where the palm of the hand is just mostly fat. And that's why you can see there I am doing a more of the rounded shape. Here a little bit more curves going. Now one thing that you need to think about the hand is you have to think about this nice little offset going. So we got this shape going and then going this way. So we got this little curve and then we got this curve here. Just thinking about that shape when you're looking from the side view of the tip of the fingers. And I'm gonna go ahead and mess around the voxel size, so got a little bit more geometry. Okay, now right here on the thumb area, we're going to once again just think about the knuckle part of the thumb here. So for the thumb area, we need to think about the two bones here. We got one, and then we have two right here. So just think about this shape as you are doing the thumb. And just kind of bulking this up. Adding a little bit more volume there. And using the grab brush to kind of widen it a little bit. Add a little offset using the grab brush. So we got that nice little offset going. Same here. All right. So we got this shape going. So you see the nice tip of the finger. Think about where the thumb is going to bend and add a little carve there. So yeah, I kind of lifted up this mesh right here. So we have more of this shape going. Because we do have a bone right here, and bone right there. And so that's why I kind of did that shape as you see there. Right here, I'm just gonna go ahead and mask this area out. And I'm going to soften the edges by painting the mask, invert it, and I'm gonna go to the move, going to set pivot, sculpt, set pivot to mask border. And it looks like it did it on both sides because we are working on both hands at the same time, but it's fine. Just needed to move it down a bit because it's a little short. Okay, just gonna move things around here to get the general shape of the index finger and looking from afar away. So now I'm just want to go ahead and focus on the hand and just hit the body there. Now back on sculpt mode, I'm gonna add just a little bit more fat here on the palm of the hand. And just gonna grab and pull this down so we got more shape and geometry there. So yeah, we have a few shapes here that you need to think about. You have 1, you have 2, and then you have 3 there. Those are the fatty pads. And then we have this little dip, which is a little bit of triangle, just kind of pushing the clay there. And then just gonna draw a little carve there. And looks like I'm gonna need a little bit more geometry, so just remesh it with lower voxel size. That way the more and more forms that we need here, the lower your voxel size, the voxel size need to be, so you can add more of those details for the hands. And just re-adding the knuckles here. using the clay sharp brush to add a little bit of forms on the thumb. So looking from this view, it's coming along so far for the finger. I'm gonna go ahead and mask this index finger here. Let's go to our mask and mask slice to new object so it becomes a separate piece. Okay, so we're going to be duplicating this index finger now that we have separated it. Let's go to edit mode, hit the tab key. As you can see right now, I am on edit mode because I'm able to select the faces here. So just have those there, selecting the faces. We're going to go ahead and Shift D and duplicate it. While we're on edit mode. And you could see it's kind of hard to rotate this because we are working on both sides of the fingers. But in order to just fix this, we are going to do something about this. Let's go ahead and just delete the faces for one side of the hand. Yeah, let's delete this side right here of the hand. Just gonna go and delete these fingers. So what we could do is we could just focus on doing one hand, and we could just remove this. That way we're able to move the pivot on the fingers, so we're able to rotate, adjust, transform this a lot easier. So just deleting the hand area on the left side for now. And then let's go to objects, set origin to geometry. So now you can see that the move tool is going to be here. Once again, same thing for the finger area. Let's go to object, set origin to geometry so that origin is right there. In the move tool, you can see it's going to be a lot easier for us to move around. And then just going to edit mode and separated that finger and set origin to geometry. Do the same thing for the index finger. And now we could go ahead and rotate this with no issue. So we have more flexibility when it comes to doing the individual fingers here. We are going to fuse all these together later. But right now it's just going to give us a lot more control if they're individual right now. And you could duplicate each of these to create the rest of the fingers. You could scale them individually, which is so much easier. You can move them, reposition them as needed, rotate them. Scale it down some more. So remember, the biggest part of our finger is going to be the index finger. And then right here, the pinky finger, smallest one, of course. And just gonna rotate. So we are really trying to get that nice relaxed pose. And you can see there's a little bit of bent here. So we're not just drawing the finger straight like this. Okay, because if you draw the finger straight like that, first of all, it's not gonna look natural. Secondly, if you give this to a rigger to rig, it's going to be a little bit more frustrating. Usually riggers, they like it if you give them a geometry mesh, a character mesh, and the joints are slightly bent like this. That way they know exactly, a lot easier for them to know where to add those bones for them while they're rigging. They know exactly where to add those. So it's going to be so much, you're going to make your rigger a lot happier if you're working in the industry. If you give them a a geometry that's ready for rigging and for animation. So you keep in mind that you could see that this area, the last three fingers, are a little bit more kind of hidden, and then this is a little bit, the index finger is a little bit more kind of like out there. All right, so just take a look at that and position and rotate your fingers to make it look more natural as I have here. Just scale that down to just kind of fit the entire base of the hand. So you need to make sure that you kind of add a little bit of spacing in between the fingers. That way when you remeshed all these parts together, you fuse all these, there's not going to be much fusing going on in between the individual fingers. So you don't want them to kind of stick together. So make sure you just add a little bit of gap there going. It's not going to be 100% perfect when you remesh and fuse these fingers. There's still going to be a little bit of fixing that you need to do, but it's best to just kind of adjust whatever you can, so it will be a lot easier in the long run. Okay, back onto the sculpt mode. Onto the base of the hand, I'm just going to chart out my symmetry and just kind of further fit the base of my hand onto the fingers. So you go back and forth between adjusting the base of the hand and the actual four fingers that you have there to have them nicely fit together before you fuse them. So I'm just kind of making sure that the thumb is not that long. There you go. Okay, back on sculpt mode. Gonna go ahead and just move this. I'm gonna turn off my symmetry. Yeah, just make sure that you turn off the symmetry, because remember we have deleted the other hand. So make sure that in order to be able to sculpt properly, that you don't have mirror turned on. Gonna mask the tip of the finger here for the middle finger, and then soften the edges and invert it, and then paint masking this here, and onto the rotate, mask border, and gonna go and further bend this a little bit more. I'm gonna go see if I could adjust my, so you could see if it's gonna be a lot easier for you to rotate. You could adjust your orientation for your rotate tool. which is what I kind of did there. Setting it to view makes it a lot easier to rotate on a specific view of the character here. And I'm gonna go ahead and mask this. So yeah, around the parts here where you have the lines, those are the areas where the joints are going to meet, and those are the areas where the fingers are going to be bending. Right, so just slowly bending these fingers, bending the middle finger here. Okay, so look in all views, trying to find a way to easily bend this. You might want to go back to the grab brush to further adjust the location of the fingers. Gonna move this down and smooth it. Gonna pull this to the sides and make it a little wider. And then onto the ring finger to just kind of move it to the side. Make sure it's not sticking too much to the index finger. So looking at here from afar, probably gotta do a little bit of adjustment to this one. And then rotate a bit. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and combine those. Control J to combine the fingers with the base of the hand. So yeah, you can see that they're all together now. And we need that. You need to combine the geometry for the hands first before you remesh it in order to fuse them. Let's go to sculpt mode. And you can see right here, we have a little error. Object has non-uniform. It may be unpredictable, you could see. And to fix something like that, we gotta go to object mode. Let's go to apply all transformation. And now if you go back to sculpt mode, you're not gonna see that error anymore. And let's go to our voxel size and decrease the number for that, and let's remesh it. Okay, you see that there's a little problem there. There's the sticking of the geometry. So that could be because there's not enough resolution for our voxel size here. But let's undo that and bring down our voxel size 0.03 so we got more geometry and remesh that. And as you can see, just by increasing the voxel size, we kind of got rid of the issue. There's still some stuff that are kind of sticking in, but it's easier to work with than the previous one. Now just remember that your voxel size amount might be different from mine, so just mess around with it. Smooth this out. Bring down our brush size. For this area, we could add a little bit more of the knuckles that we had previously. inflate this up a bit, and then using the clay strip to reapply the bony landmark here, thinking of the knuckle area. And then onto the fatty pads here at the palm of the hand. Just reapplying the forms that we already have. And then remeshing it and smooth it. Go back and forth between reapplying the shapes and remeshing and smoothing. So we got a little nice relaxed hand going. Another thing that you need to keep in mind is going to be the knuckle area here. So just keep in mind that the knuckle area is going to be that area from this view, all right? You're going to see that the knuckle is supposed to be a little bit higher than the fatty pads. So it has to be slightly higher than the fatty pads. And just kind of move it around. And reapplying those areas, the lines here to indicate where the fingers are going to be bending. So yeah, those wrinkles there that I just added it's not really detailed, the wrinkles, but just kind of added it there because it kind of give our eye some information to work with of where the joints are going to be articulating. All right, it's coming along. We have more forms for our fingers. Let's see how it looks with the body. I want to go back to the thumb and make some modifications there. And they're gonna bulk that area up for the thumb area. Give it a little bit more love on the thumb. Just spend a little bit more time paying attention to the fingers that's been abandoned. And I gotta move that up. It's a little too sharp. All right. Yeah, so when you're looking at this right now, what you should have is, if you look at your wrist, so we got something like this, and then you should have a little bit of a relaxed pose going for the hand area. So we got like a natural state for our fingers and the base of the hand connecting to the wrist area. Okay, spending just a bit more time on the thumb to add a little bit more of the forms here. Going to add the bony landmark. Trying to see how the hand could better fit the wrist area. And then using the draw sharp to just kind of carve this clay in. It look like the knuckles are kind of sticking together a little too much. And onto the object mode. We can go to our add modifier and let's add a mirror. Just make sure that before you add a mirror that the move tool is actually in the middle of the grid here. That way when you mirror it, it will mirror right in the middle, right here where it's supposed to be. So yeah, if you're on object mode and you see that the pivot for the move tool for the hand is not where it's supposed to be, which is in the middle, just make sure that you go to object and set your origin to the cursor, because right now my cursor right there is in the middle. So your cursor should also be right there in the middle. There you go. And now it's mirrored on the other side. We got both hands right now. And we can just go ahead and apply that mirror. Let's go ahead and make it permanent and back onto the sculpt mode. And we could finally turn on our mirror here. So we could do both sides at the same time. Now I'm going to go ahead and mask the pinky finger here with a lasso tool. And I'm going to paint mask the edges here. And then unmask. And then let's go to our rotate. Set pivot to mask border. And just gonna go ahead and rotate this a little bit to the side and kind of move this because it look a little squished in. And then a little bit of more volume here. So we got a little issue here in the inner part of the fingers. Going to fix that a bit. Alright, I'm gonna do the same thing for the ring finger here. The ring finger looks a little strange. It looks a little, yeah, you can see it looks a little bit broken. It's kind of going this way. So just go to each of your fingers and make sure everything is still good. So I kind of want it a little bit more straight, but at the same time tapered at the tip of the finger. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fix this. Soften the edges of the mask. And invert it. And then let's go to pivot to mask border. And I gotta work from this side here. And just gonna rotate in the Z direction so kind of better straighten that out. And then using the grab brush, you just kind of nudge this a little bit to the side. Alright, back onto our sculpt mode. Gonna further fix the knuckle area part. So right now, I am just thinking about the tendons. If you look at the top of your hand, there's gonna be those that you mostly see, little thin bumpiness there. Those are mostly tendons that you see, and below those tendons are gonna be bones. So there's gonna be bones here underneath those tendons, and the bone here is actually what's causing the knuckle area here. You got like the bigger bones here. Yeah, so yeah, on top of that, the bones are gonna be some tendons that you really see on your fingers there. And we're also like around this area here, we're gonna see some bones on there. So those are gonna be some bony landmarks on there. And then here is gonna be our bones for our thumb. And just kind of smooth that out. Okay, so right here I'm just gonna adding a little bit of indication of some bony landmarks there, but very, very subtle. Alright, so we got a little nice shape of our hands going.